It's the Mike Francesa Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa Podcast. You know, a few weeks back when we were doing a podcast with emails, one of the questions was, who's the best owner in sports? And I said, that's easy. I said, just look at efficiency, productivity, and it is the guy who owns the Tampa Bay Rays, Stu Sternberg, because I said, for the money spent, the amount of wins and what they get is unbelievable. Well, that's made me look really smart because they started off the season now with a record-tying 13-0 start, and the aforementioned owner, Stu Sternberg, joins us now. Stu, welcome. How are you?
Well, Michael, it's great to hear your voice, and you're extraordinarily too kind, and I don't know if you're correct, but
hey, it's remarkable. It's, listen, what you have accomplished right now this year, I looked it up this morning to see where you were. There's only two teams that have spent less money, and that is Oakland and Baltimore and Oakland in that order. And you not only have put together this string where it's, remarkable year after year, 86 wins, 100 wins, 90, 96 wins. Now to open 13-0, it's just amazing what you've done. And it makes people, like if you go into a ballpark and you say to them, hey, what about the Rays? They just shake their heads. If it's a general manager, if it's anybody, they just shake their heads and say, it's unbelievable. And it is. I mean, what you do for per dollar, bang for your buck, is unbelievable. How does it feel to be in the midst of this 13-0 start?
Look, first of all, we don't try to spend little. We spend all we can.
Right.
I'd love nothing more than to be able to spend, 30, 50, $70 million more and have, a couple more all-stars on the team. That would be great. Just, we spend what we can afford. It's basically it. But how does it feel? Sometimes you have even, before owning the team, and obviously even owning the team, I still take it from a fan standpoint. You have a game and a team comes in, a series, and you look at things in series and you sweep a series. It's really special. The brooms come out, everybody gets excited, and you get a good weekend of baseball, or, a Tuesday to Thursday kind of thing. Maybe it creeps into the next series or something, or two series. To have this go on for over 2 weeks is, night after night and day after day with, a couple of days off in between is has never happened with us or anything like it. And to be able to do it right out of the gate when the gun went off is really triples the excitement.
As the Rays, who are the talk of baseball, go into Toronto tonight at 13-0, what they've accomplished. Now, the Rays always pitch well. We know that. And they usually hit some homers. But you guys have hit over 30 homers in 13 games. I mean, I know Lowe's hot, but it's remarkable. You go up and down. You have like 9 different guys who have either 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 home runs. It's unbelievable how much productivity you're getting up and down the lineup.
After the second series in, I think after we got back from Washington, I started looking around what was going on in the game, because, you'd look at 1 game, 3 games, 5 games, you can't draw many conclusions out of it. But after 6 games, and not just us, but all around the league, there've been a lot of baseball games played at that point. And I had just assumed that things were flying out of the parks everywhere, because I'm sitting there watching, 3, 4 home runs in a game, 2 home runs, 5 home runs. And I was really shocked to see that it wasn't going on all throughout, and it still hasn't. It's not something that's going on all throughout the game. The numbers we have are just so far outside of the norm. We had really just assumed that this was happening in all the ballparks.
Everyone laughs that if Tampa calls and asks about one of your players, you hang up. Okay, that's become the talk of baseball. That just hang up. I mean, because, but it is how you not only find guys, but also reclamate guys. I mean, something is clicking inside your organization from you on down that is just working at a very, very high level. Can you tell me what it is?
Well, first of all, it over the last 5, 8, 10 years, it's gotten increasingly more difficult for us to make a trade. So it hasn't worked in our favor, in
Yeah,
that
because
respect.
everyone's
And
afraid of you.
we've made some bad deals. We traded Cronenworth to San Diego, Marquez to Colorado. So, we trade guys away, but the important thing for us is that we bring somebody in who we actually really believe in. Pitching has really been my mantra from the very beginning, has been the organization's mantra. It was drummed into me by my father 50 years ago, 60 years ago. And it's the truth. You watch an All-Star game or the World Baseball Classic, good pitching, and you and I know good pitching beats good hitting. You can have
Every
the
time.
best pitcher, and you could have 9 Hall of Famers in the All. And if a pitcher makes his pitches and you have the right game plan, he's going to get the guys out for the most part. So if you start with the pitching and the run prevention, on the field, which is where we've kept our focus, it goes a long way. Now, we have tried over the last number of years to bring in guys, and it's not as simple as all this, who hit the baseball hard. And right now, we look at exit velocities. I mean, as fans, we all look at exit velocities, but even 5 years ago, that wasn't a thing that people focused on. Now it's normal. 110 miles an hour, 105. You only hit the ball 96 miles an hour, and those are the kinds of things we were looking at. But we like it a lot when pitchers throw the ball hard, and we like it a lot when batters hit the ball hard. And then we try to work around that and try to add a little something to their repertoire or something, and see if we can get some success out of a guy.
Just as an example, the Yankees, as you know, are always spending money. They're number 2 in payroll. The Mets are number 1. The Yankees right now have 4 guys who have 3 or more homers. The Mets have 1, Alonso, who is hitting a lot of homers, okay? He leads the league in homers. He has 6 homers already. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who have 3 or more homers. That's remarkable. That is remarkable. Then you have 5 other guys who have 2 homers. So, I mean, you are getting contributions from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. You go through a point in time. It does feed on itself through the lineup. When a couple of guys are doing well, it feeds on itself. When guys are going bad, they're going bad. We had our last game of the year last year. We were in Cleveland and 15 innings or so, and we couldn't score a run. We couldn't scratch anything out. And the amazing thing with us, which is rare, we haven't done this very often since I've been involved, is we pretty much ran out the same team this year. I think we only had 2 changes on the whole roster. So all the guys who were hitting this year, every one of them was on this team last year. At the end of the season, we lost Kiermaier, but he wasn't there. He was hurt. Siri was there, and he's back again this year, though he's hurt right now. So we had a lot of faith in the guys. They went through a season last year where they didn't hit that well. The year before, I think we were second in the league in runs. And in an odd way, I read something yesterday, I think. I don't know if it's 3 of the last 4 or 4 of the last 5. I believe it's 3 of the last 4 years. Brandon Lau has hit more home runs than Aaron Judge has in each of the years. So, you can play around with numbers a little bit, but this is a guy who was out, for basically 2/3 of the season last year, and he's got 5 home runs for us. And he did it over 6 games. This was a high 30s home run hitting guy, not a big guy by any stretch. And he just wasn't available for us last year. Neither was Wander Franco. They were both dinged up all year.
Obviously, as you mentioned, we all know what pitching means to baseball. You had a lot of changes to deal with this year. And let's be honest, I've been very hard on Manfred. These changes to baseball this year I think they saved the game. I mean,
spectacular. I agree with you.
They are revolutionary. They will make him commissioner for a long time. He saved the game, not just him, but it's his leadership. The bottom line is the radical changes. Rarely do you see changes have the impact they've had. Everyone is in love with baseball, with what they've done to speed up the game. It has worked seamlessly. It has worked so well. We'll see how much the changes in the infield and in positioning change, but the players like it. We know that. You're seeing hitters get hits again who hit the ball hard. It had taken so much offense out of the game. What did you do to accentuate your efficiency against those changes this year, if anything?
Well, I'll take it back if I can. I'll take everything back a little bit. From for years, decades, the MLB was looking to shorten the games, as you remember. Creeping over 3 hours, and to me, it wasn't the 3 hours as much as it was what was happening on the field between the lines. The game had gotten boring. It became monotonous. It became difficult to watch. And at the end, and it, really all that was needed, and it's hate to say it, all that was needed was something akin to a pitch clock, or now we have the pitch clock. Basically the batter stays in the box, the pitcher stays on the rubber, throw the ball, and the whole pace of the game has sped up.
Yep.
Forgetting that we've picked up 20, 25 minutes, we could have done it with commercials and other ways, but the game had gotten boring.
Did it the right way, and now there's action again back on the field where the ball's getting hit and people are running the bases, and that's a big positive also.
Yeah. So we have, we knew there were some changes coming. There's only so much you can do, especially baseball being such a team game. You make one or two changes or add one or two players, it can only have so much of an effect.
Did it make you accentuate defense or de-emphasize defense?
Since Ohtani's been there, I don't even think they've been and Mike Trout, I don't think they've been a 500 team. So one player, while it's amazing to have, and you look what a guy like Judge did last year, which was as much of an impact as a guy can have on a team, and he's unbelievable. The Yankees had some great players around him, and it showed. But as far as we're concerned, as I said, we ran out the same guys, but the thing that worked in our favor, the things that we have accentuated for almost 2 decades now, speed, defense, have paid off, and the pitching have paid off. So we're keeping the ball, we're getting the strikeouts, we're keeping the ball in play where we can have our extremely excellent defenders who are quite quick and have covered a lot of ground, are able to get to the balls. They're able to steal the bases, take the extra bases. This is the kind of baseball we've played all along, and fortunately, the rules have turned a bit, to help us deal with that.
We're talking with Stu Sternberg, the managing general partner, the boss of the Tampa Bay Rays, the principal owner, after their remarkable start and what they've done with, their 28th in payroll, and look where they are in wins. And this is not anything that hasn't happened year after year after year with Tampa. I mean, Tampa's competed on the same plane as the Yankees for years. For years, the Yankees look at them as equals, and they do it spending basically 1/6 the money. There used to be a theory, or at least an adage, that there was a Dodger way, there was a St. Louis Cardinal way. There was something that permeated, that really went through the entire organization. Is there a Tampa Bay way of doing things?
A bunch of our guys have, much to our detriment, but have gone to work and run and manage other teams around the league. I'll probably miss some. James Click was running the Astros.
Yeah, you got a lot of them now. You've been rated more than anybody else.
Fella, Chaim Bloom is at the Red Sox doing that. The number one guy in Milwaukee now was a guy with us. We've got a bunch of managers who are out there from, some who've lost their jobs and some are still there. So people have tried to emulate it. I would tell you that, I've had amazing leadership, all throughout in the organization. And I think what really does it more than anything is just a unity. There's a team approach in the upstairs side of the baseball organization. We have an amazing manager in Kevin Cash, Eric Neander, who's running the thing. One thing we have done, if there's anything more than whatever, is I have never hired anybody in our baseball department from another organization. Everybody we do is homegrown. Everything we do is homegrown.
Everybody is homegrown.
Yeah, everybody's homegrown. Now, if guys have gotten fired by another organization, like this year we brought in John Daniels, who ran Texas and ran them beautifully in a large respect. But time had whatever had happened there in Texas. So John is who's a great baseball guy, was looking for a spot possibly, and so we brought him in, and he's working with us as an advisor and on things. So we have brought in people who have lost their jobs. But everybody in our organization, and I've got, 100 and some odd people on the baseball side, have come up and grown up in the organization. We bring them in young. We teach them, we let them make mistakes, and if they're any good, they keep working their way up the pyramid. And if they're not, they generally go and work for another team.
All right, and there's a theory in baseball now that you hear about all the time, this delicate balance between the analytics department and the on-field baseball people. How does it work for you guys?
Cash is, Cash and our coaches are, there's a reason why those guys are our coaches and our manager. They work in sync with our upstairs folks. I was down there yesterday. There's an ease of discussion and back and forth. There's really there's no separation there. You could put you can't even.
And it's an easy fit between the on the field guys and the department.
I'm sorry, say that again.
There's an easy fit between an easy fit between the on field guys and the department that produces the numbers. Absolutely.
The guys on the field and the reason why they're in the clubhouse is because they have they're great at what they do, but they have an appreciation for what the numbers, as you'd call them, or suggestions are made, can improve their players who they're trying to coach and improve the team that they're trying to produce wins for. So they appreciate it. They're thirsting for more, and we help them understand the information that we're generating, and we try not to get too crazy with it. But Kevin Cash is the greatest proponent of it. I mean, he is in 100% on these things, and he's always thirsting for more. And look, like anything else, they're competitive guys. They want to win. And when they see that the players see that they're having success, as you pointed out, reclamation projects, and a guy like Zach Eflin came in here this year, and part of it was he wanted to see what we can do for him as well. Obviously, $40 million helped.
Yes.
But when there's a coin toss, we generally are the winners with bringing in players who have choices to go somewhere.
Well, listen, it's become obvious to everybody. I mean, you guys breed success. It's not any secret. It's not a secret around the sport right now. As I told you, general managers have said to me, if Tampa calls, hang up. I mean, that's basically it. They have something we don't have, and that's why you guys keep getting hired. Everyone wants to know what's in the secret sauce there, and there you are right now sitting 13-0, which, people, I say, do they amaze anybody anymore? And everyone says, no, we expect this stuff from Tampa.
Yeah, I do, when you read the preseason, remember we go back to, Baseball Digest and all
sure.
All the
Baseball Almanac,
all that stuff. In February, and we just devour them, right? Now everybody's got prognostications and all. And 9 times out of 10, I read it, and the explanation for us doing well is that, they seem to always do well. Nobody really delves down and looks at the players closely enough necessarily, because when they do, they don't think that the players are really good enough, and they wouldn't necessarily start on their own team, right? How many of our guys would be starters on the Mets or starters on the Yankees, vice versa, right?
A lot more than you think when you really watch them play.
And it's an entire team approach.
You have good players. That you have good athletes. You have good players. You really do, and they're very good fundamentally too.
Yeah, we like them. Look, we have we're a deep organization. We pride ourselves in that. There are injuries in the sport, and if we can plug in somebody else who's going to hold his own, you look around the game sometimes. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to pick on any other teams or whatever, but you have a guy go down, and all of a sudden somebody's in a position who really shouldn't be playing that position. And we do everything we can to make sure that if we're putting a player on the field or a pitcher on the mound, it's in a position where he can have the best success he can, not that they're going to be embarrassed or out of position or facing a batter who they shouldn't be facing. Every professional player has a good matchup and they have a bad matchup. You remember, you go back, there were certain pitchers who were awful, and they could just get certain guys out, and other pitchers who could, Gibson or Koufax or whatever, who could get everybody out, and there were certain guys who just hit them. And what you try to do is without star power like that, is put the guys in positions where they can get the players out who they're built to get out, because they can all get pitchers, they can all get certain hitters out. And you don't want to
it comes back to one word, though.
They don't have a chance against.
Let's be honest. It comes back to you, and it comes back to one word, and that is being smart. Let's be honest. You have had a very successful career, which allowed you to take this route in your life, which we know in finance, that allowed you to get involved. You got involved with a franchise that a lot of people would have been frustrated by a long time ago, which had both hands, not one hand, tied behind its back. And you have not only made it a successful franchise, you've made it the model that is copied by everybody in baseball. It's a remarkable achievement.
It's way too kind. It's
honest.
It's not just to be modest. I really had some.
It's honest, though. That's the assessment. Let's be honest. You guys haven't survived. You've thrived.
I mean, look at Friedman left us, and he went to run the Dodgers, and look at the success they've had out there. And it's not by accident. He's some incredible people. But Mike, I like to think I learned it all on the blacktop in the schoolyards. How's that?
You learned it somewhere, though, and you've imparted it on your guys. You guys have been at the forefront. You've been smarter than everybody else. And it shows. And that brain power you haven't done it by throwing money at people. You've done it by outthinking people and bringing in the right people. And your team, it doesn't have the superstars that other teams has because that doesn't work in your model financially. But you know what? You have a lot of good players.
Yeah, well, look, we saw Wander Franco as a 20-year-old, when he made his debut, and we committed over $180 million to the guy.
Yeah.
So, if it fits and we're able to do it and fit it in, but he's a cornerstone for us, and he's a special, special player. We went in the offseason and we signed Zach Eflin to a $40 million contract for 3 years. So, we can't do that often, but, we have to be very careful about it and judicious. But as I said, I'm not looking to be, 27th or 28th in spending. I'd like to be somewhere in the middle of the pack. Would give us a better chance to win. I can only imagine, if I was able to go out and add a couple of, frontline, you pick it. But by the same token, it's, for us, it's hard to improve on any of the positions we have in the field. The guys are doing great. So, we'll continue to roll with it. It's a long season, as you know. And, we'll see what happens this weekend in Toronto. Who knows? If this was Monday, you might even want to talk to me. But,
all right, listen,
we take it game by game.
You live and die with this team day to day. This is your baby. You live and die with it. It's nice to get off to a decent start. You don't worry about your start, but you don't want to get buried. And there you win a couple of games. All right, and you maybe played a couple of soft teams. You got the A's in there, and they're not any good. And it's not, but the bottom line is, you're now sitting here. You've played half a month, and you're 13-0. What has been the reaction of your fan base? What has been the reaction of your ball club?
The guys were loose. We had it was a little different this year. We got Hurricane Ian hit last fall.
Yeah,
the end of summer and fall.
And it was a tough one.
So we couldn't do spring training in Port Charlotte where we normally do.
Right.
We did a few weeks in Orlando, and then we moved over to Tropicana Field. So the players, I think it actually worked out better for them. We didn't know how it was all going to get handled. So when the first game came, we were already familiar with everything, and we had been in the Trop doing our spring training. And I think the familiarity worked to our advantage this year as well, because you never know how the season starts, when the gun goes off. So I think that helped us a lot. The misfortune actually helped us. The guys being together last year and playing into the playoffs last year was helpful. And yes, we haven't played, we still have yet to play the top teams, in the league. The Red Sox are always a tough one for us as well.
Yeah, they're not an easy team by any
stretch. By the same
stretch.
token, I would tell you that the rebalancing of the schedule this year, something that we've been pushing for to happen since the day I came in, is going to be very helpful for us.
Hey, yeah, you don't want to play the Yankees 19 times.
Instead of playing the Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Orioles, who are a damn good team, 19 games apiece, 76 games, we're going to play them 13 games apiece. And those other, 24 games get divided amongst teams that aren't as good as those. Let's just put it that way.
Hey, let's be honest. The Yankees are as thrilled about that as anybody else. I mean, you've done very well against the Yankees in recent years. So it's not like, the Yankees have been beating you up. It's not like you're the Minnesota Twins, who last night finally took some, took a little of their hate out on the Yankees. The Yankees, believe it or not, are like 114-40 against the Twins, going back years.
I think the way most teams go into, with competitive teams, the way we think about it, and it's been accentuated, is you really have to take care of business against the teams that you're better than, or you think you're better than, and then just hold serve at best, against the Yankees and the Astros, the Twins. the other half of the teams you play. If you could play 500 type ball against them and really do the job against the weaker teams, then that's a recipe for success.
Has any player really surprised you so far with his start?
That's a good question. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to sound strange. We had a Rule 5 pickup. Fellow last name is Kelly, and our guys were high on him. That he had a chance, and it's very rare that we go this route because we're pretty deep on the pitching side. So to commit to a guy and keep him on the roster is something we haven't really done. And we had a couple of guys upstairs in our department who really liked him and worked with the pitching coach, and we worked with him, and he made the team. And he came in yesterday, and he really answered the bell yesterday, and he's been pitching really well for us. So he's a guy who, I won't say so far has outperformed, but it's extraordinarily rewarding. When you have a guy like that as a Rule 5 who comes in, and then the kid who closed the game for us last year pitched 3 innings, and we picked him up at the end of spring training, and not a guy that is going to be at the front end of our bullpen, but the kind of guys who are going to need to give us innings throughout the year. The Yankees have been very good at doing that as well, but it's rewarding. But obviously, everybody, as I said, they're playing out of their minds right now.
They really are. And Lowe, Lowe had 31 doubles and 39 homers 2 years ago, so it's not a shock that he's off to the start. So we knew he had power.
Right. It's there. They were really beat. There were a few guys who were dinged up pretty good last year. And like anything else, we're going to have to stay healthy. Unfortunately, we had, one of our best starters go down yesterday with some elbow issues potentially, and we're going to find out today how he is. And we're crossing our fingers for that one. So.
And then Rosarina's not a bad hitter either. I tell you something. I've always liked him.
And
I think he's got 50 RBIs already. So
chance and everything. He's an exciting player to watch on the bases, and
he is. He's a fun player. He is.
We saw it in the World Series in the playoffs in 2020, and then the World Baseball Classic. So yeah, he's a typical kind of guy, athletic guy, can play the field. He's got some real power. You look at him. He's not a giant or anything, and those are the kind of guys that we're drawn to.
All right, let me ask you a tough one to solve since you are the guy to do it. Baseball loves the World Baseball Classic, but it doesn't work before the season. It doesn't work after the season. It doesn't work during the season. When can you least evil in terms of scheduling? Because every player loves it. It works for baseball. It's a good promotional tool, but it doesn't work before the season. Bad injuries. After the season, they're too tired and they're too beat up. Middle of the season would make no sense. When do you play it?
It's an every 4-year-ish or so. We try to. I think as far as the injuries are concerned, guys get injured in regular spring training games as well. They get accentuated when it happens in the World Baseball Classic. Sometimes they bring it on themselves. Outside of baseball, right? But There's no perfect answer. But it has been kicked around. To maybe do it during the All-Star break. Create something there where you get a week like that. But this seems to be the best of a lot of not great choices. Is to do it, like we did it this year with spring training. We just have to figure out a way to maybe get more pitchers involved and to make sure they're protected.
Well, let's be honest. No team's going to want their pitchers going. We can all understand that.
Yeah. Well, we have to throw them. The good part of that is, when they're playing for the U.S. and you're playing for Dominican, like the guy who managed the Dominican this year is our bench coach. So and we go there and we like the trainers, the professional trainers.
The pitching coach for the American team this year was Andy Pettit.
Yeah, right. So the players get looked after fine. They're really overly careful with them, which is good. But we just have to make sure there are enough of them so when a guy doesn't get used, too often or badly. But when a pitch is going to get thrown an errant pitch and you get hit on the hand and a broken, it's unfortunate. But it can happen just as easily, or if not more so, in a regular spring training game.
Well, listen, thanks for a couple of minutes. The remarkable run of the Rays is continuing, 13-0 to start the season. So I know it's been a good April already. We'll talk to you down the road. Thanks very much.
Michael, can I digress for 30 seconds?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
St. John's. I think Louis retired before he was 70. We got a 70-year-old coach, and fortunately 70 in the year 2023 isn't 70 in 1995 or whenever Louis left. Are we feeling good about it?
Yes. Listen. Right? I know Rick is 71, but he wants to coach for another 10 years. He has such energy for it. I'll give you an example. He runs individual drills at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock in the morning for his players, and he instructs them himself. He loves coaching. It's his passion. He wanted to get back to a big program. He was cleared of they couldn't prove anything with the Louisville money, so they had to say we have to lift any ban on him. So that allowed schools to go after him. They went after him. Now, though, the big change is, you saw it this morning, Villanova hired a general manager for basketball, Baker Dunleavy, who used to be Jay's top assistant at Villanova, and then he went off as a head coach. He is going to be the guy who raises NIL money and then negotiates NIL deals for the Villanova Wildcats, for women and men. That is now going to be the future. They're going to raise a pot of money, and they're going to give the money in smart ways to players. And it's legal, name, image, and likeness, NIL. And Miami this year, as an example, gave one guy $800,000. They gave 4 of their 5 starters money. Mike Rapoli is very involved with that right now, but they're going to raise money from the general populace. Friends of Villanova is the tool they use at Villanova. This is the future of college sports. So they'll take a NIL bunch of money and go out and get a ready-made team. That's what goes on now every year, and you can call it distasteful, but that is college basketball now. And I think Pitino will have a very good team very fast.
Well, thanks for the insight there. That's look, I'm pretty excited about it. He's one of the great coaches of all time. That's what he is. He has a gift. He's one of the great coaches of all time. He will win anywhere he goes. I had some real good hopes for Mullen when he was there, but this feels like it could be a difference. And then watching UConn, I never would have thought they'd be able to rebound back and do what they did this year. It was an amazing team. I think
they had an overwhelmingly good team,
especially with Pitino here going forward. So thanks for the insight.
They had an overwhelmingly good team. I just talked to Danny Hurley the other day. I did a podcast with him. The big kid just went pro. Sanago just went pro. But they are loaded for next year. They have a 7-2 center. They use size and they use the 3. They not only use the 3, they use size and the 3. And you'll see size come back in college basketball after this year because UConn used it very much to their advantage. But getting back to Pitino, I think he will be very successful very quickly.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Mike.
I don't know if it'll be Tampa Rays success now. I don't know about 13-0, but we'll have to wait and see.
Time for me if we're 48-12. How's
that? Hey, thanks very much. We'll talk to you down the road.
Stay well. Thanks.
Goodbye. Stu Sternberg, the guy who, let's be honest, they've built the model. Not only do they compete, they dominate. And every team follows their lead. It's remarkable what he's built in Tampa. It's remarkable. Their guys get hired to go everywhere. General managers have said to me, if Tampa calls for one of your players, hang up the phone because they're going to beat you on the deal. And they're smarter than everybody else, which is why they have a payroll that is 28th. Okay? The Mets this year, counting everything, $344 million. Tampa, $74 million. 28th out of 30th. And they're 13-0, and they've basically averaged 90-something wins the last 5 or 6 years. And had 100, 96, 90, no losing seasons, great success, can compete with anybody in the sport. And this year they're off to a 13-0 start and have 8 different players who have multiple home runs, and I think 6 different guys who have at least 3 home runs. The Mets have 1, just as an example. Back after this.
You're listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
As we said, we got a lot of busy stuff coming up. We'll be with you after the Knick game Saturday night. So we'll be looking for our postmortem on Knick playoff basketball. It's going to be a tough series. Hopefully they can get a split. If they do, it's going to be great fun with them coming back to the Garden next week. Knick playoff basketball will be a lot of fun, especially if they can find a way to split the 2 games in Cleveland. We'll be with you after the ball game on Saturday night. Be looking for that.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.